Hi there. Welcome to the Lead Relationally podcast. Let's go for a walk and join the guys as they talk about a better way to lead people.
Hi everybody, Chris and Brad here. We're out on another walk and we are continuing our conversation about the 7 C's of relationships. Chris, remind us, what are those?
Well, the 7 C's are a way for us to be able to evaluate where are our relationships at. Are they healthy? Are they good? What's going well about them? What's challenging? Just to give us a way to be able to assess the relationships so that we can then as leaders work out, well, what's the next step with this person? Using these 7 lenses to understand, well, where it's at and what better would even look like. Because otherwise it's all a little bit of a mystery.
Right. And we said that alone, these things only give you a small part of the picture, that they'll give you one way of looking and measuring a relationship. But the strength of it really comes when you put them all together. Then it gives you a fuller, more comprehensively cohesive view of a relationship.
Yeah, any one of them is helpful, but I think all of them together is dynamite. Like, I think that that's actually a far fuller picture. It's got more 3D. It's like, rather than do, well, here's the 2 things you need to do, here's the 2 things, but here's 8 reasons why that's going to make a difference, a deeper level of seeing this person for who they are, and also you being able to interact with them in a more healthy, awesome way.
Right. Well, we're going to throw a spanner in the works today because the other C's that we've been talking about, you can work on them, right? As a leader, you can add somebody to your calendar more. You can create opportunities for context. You can navigate conflict. You can work with it. You can say, okay, I'm low in this category. And that's actually, as a leader, I can be intentional about turning the heat up on that particular C. But the one that we're talking about today, we're going to say it just is what it is. And you can't manipulate it. There's nothing you can do about it. And that's chemistry. So what do we mean when we're talking about chemistry?
Chemistry is a wild one, because it's present or it's not. And so why can't we all just get along? Why don't we all just vibe in the same kind of way? And well, it's because we're all so different. We just don't. And so why is it that when this personality or this person, how do they react to this person? That's the chemical reaction, the chemistry between them, the reaction, the relational interaction with them seems to go higher or quicker or more reactive with some than others. And chemistry is the only way that we've come up with describing that reality that we all experience regularly within all of our relationships with our team, even at home, whatever it may be, our friends. And even so we're using a scientific term, I think there is more of an art to this than just, I can write down what's happening in a molecular structure.
Right. I think people accept that because we use chemistry to talk about relationships, maybe more with romantic relationships, right? To say like, oh, I just have a high degree of chemistry with that person for whatever reason. And why do we use that language? We're trying to capture that intangible thing to say some people just click, and not just romantic relationships, but as you said, we can talk about any of our relationships. Think about the people you know. Some people you just click with and you can't really explain it. There's just something intangible there. You can point to maybe things like, well, we have a lot in common. Or, oh, we really kind of see the world the same way. It's like, well, yeah, but there's lots of people that you could probably find common ground with. Doesn't mean there's chemistry. You might discover some chemistry because of the things you share in common, but there's just those people you just click with for whatever reason. Likewise, you can click with people and have chemistry, and your personalities could be quite different. And you think, well, I actually don't have a lot in common with that person, so this is even harder to explain. But I think we've probably experienced that as well. There's just people we click with for whatever reason, and there's people that we don't.
We want to do the science behind this more often at times, right? It's like, as I dig into this relationship, I want to find more of the things that we can interact on. And so then we're digging around for some of the other C's all of a sudden. And so sometimes when we dig, well, what happens when there's just nothing there? And it's like, well, can we make something up? It's like, no, we can find common ground. We can find something solid, but it may not be the gold or the silver that you're hoping for, which is the chemical reaction where it's like, oh, now we just click and now it just goes so well. And so to get out of the malaise of trying to work through this at ethereal level, it's like the idea of like you're on a team, you know, there's the boss there and 3 of you. And so 2 of them have got lots of chemistry and go back and forth and it seems to be going well. And you're feeling like I'm out of that. And it's like they have chemistry, I don't. And you've assessed the situation. It's like I'm in a room, 2 people really get on, I don't, I feel excluded because they have a chemistry that I don't have. And then we start digging to try and find, well, how can I have the same chemistry and how can I do that? And that's one way of looking at it. But then if we look at it from the perspective of the boss in the room, the team leader, there's two people who have chemistry with each other and one that doesn't. These two really have natural chemistry with him also, and this person doesn't. And she's trying to think through, do I have to change this? Is there something wrong with this situation? Like, why do they get on with each other so well and get on with me so easily? Is this person then awkward, or is it just I have a lower chemistry with this person? But what is that? What is that thing that I have with them that I don't with that person? I want to dig into that. I want to discover what that is. And is it something I can manufacture, or is it just that's just the way that is? That's just the way these things are interacting, or the chemical bond between them is happening this particular way. That is what this whole C is really trying to help us understand, is what do you do when you discover this? Your radar goes off. What's my approach? Is it all on me? Is it all on them? What do we do with this chemistry reality within our teams?
Yeah, I think we can fight it, right? We can say, well, I don't like that. I want to be able to control everything. Or if I have low chemistry with somebody, I'm going to work on it and we're going to find it. Gosh darn it, we are going to, click. And I think what we're saying is that it's just there or it's not. I think we would say at best, maybe you can discover some chemistry. Maybe you haven't had all the opportunity to discover whether there's real chemistry there. You've known somebody for a while, but then when you got put in the same situation, then you realize, oh, wow, we really clicked in a way I wasn't expecting because I've known them for a while. But because of context and opportunity, now we've discovered that there's some chemistry. But that gold was always there, and you just discovered it was there. If the gold isn't there, it doesn't matter how much time you put in or how much effort you put in to try and make it happen with this person. You're not going to manufacture chemistry. And it doesn't mean you shouldn't put the time in, because actually putting the time in, you could have a better working relationship. You could have more appreciation, you can bring more health through all of that, but you're not creating chemistry.
And also not to think that means there must be something wrong with me or something wrong with them, just depending on which side of the fence you're on. It's acknowledging that this thing's real, and then also realizing it doesn't mean that I can become a more higher chemistry person. Oh, and that's something that we're talking about. Are you a higher or lower chemistry person? Is like, were some people born with more chemistry within them than others? I don't think so. We can put more things out there for people to latch onto. Like, you can be a little bit more vulnerable or a little bit more out there. So now you're interacting with more people. So therefore you'll probably have more reactions because you're putting more out there. Whereas if you're a bit more reserved or you hold a bit more in, there's probably less to react to. So then that helps with then the context shifts, because all of a sudden, that person let their hair down and you didn't know that about them. And now all of a sudden you've discovered something that you have more than in common, but you have a chemistry over. And that, I think, is probably the only ways of discovering if there's more chemistry, more gold to be found with that person. But I think going away and looking in a mirror and saying, how do I become more chemistry? I think that's actually, you're barking up the wrong tree.
Yeah, and that's where we don't want this to go down a weird road. I think we just want to say there's just a dynamic to relationships, which is why this is one of the 7 C's. It just is. It's there. We know it's there. We have to acknowledge it. And it could frustrate us that we can't manipulate it like we can maybe the others. But I hope maybe on some level it's also freeing to say, like, hey, there's just some people I'm going to click with, and that'll give me a natural head start with them. If you're leading somebody and you have some chemistry, great, it's going to help you. But if you don't have chemistry, in no way does that mean that the relationship is unhealthy. I can think of people that I've had low to, or maybe neutral chemistry with. There's just nothing kind of natural. There's no extra thing there that sort of accelerates the health of the relationship. And it just means I have to rely on the other C's to have a great, healthy, working relationship with this person. It's not necessarily a disadvantage. You just don't get the freebie that you do with some people. And so it's just accepting that with some people it's going to be there, and with others it's not. And so as you look at your relationships, you can probably look and say, yeah, with that person, we've just got it. And that's fun. It can help. It could also hinder too. If you got high chemistry, maybe it gets in the way sometimes of work, getting work done.
Absolutely. That's been my experience, is that some of my worst actions as a leader have probably been around those that I have a high level of chemistry with, because I feel very comfortable with them. But then they can seem like they're the favorites to the rest of the team. And it's like, oh, that wasn't what I was trying to do. It's just because I have a higher level of chemistry. So you naturally trust them a little bit more, or you lean on them a bit more. And is that sometimes always the best idea? Are they the best person for that? It's like, oh, I've fallen into a trap now of like I've lent on the chemistry maybe too much. And maybe if I pulled that back and leveled off that C and sort of taken some of the others more into consideration, it helped me make better decisions for the health of the whole team. Same as when you're looking at someone that I have lower or even negative chemistry with, is that maybe now I'm thinking, oh, it's going to take me longer to explain things to that person, so maybe I should just go to the other, which is not based on their skill set, their fit, and a lot of other things that are actually really valuable. And so I've had to, especially in my younger years, realize chemistry, it's not a great indicator of skill set, of invitation into more leadership. It's just something to be aware of. That's why it makes the 7, because it's great to be aware of it, but also it may be pulling you to make decisions that are based too much on chemistry, that now is not considering some of the other C's that in some ways are more important.
Well, I think we can all probably think of someone that for whatever reason we've had negative chemistry with. And maybe it's been puzzling to think, well, how come I get on so well with so many people, and with this person, it just doesn't work? There's just a kind of a negative chemistry. And there was no misstep, there was no offense. It's just, you could say, well, our personalities are different. But I think it's just, I don't even think you could dissect the personalities, maybe a little, but there's just, with some people, it just doesn't click. But if we're leading people, we don't get to, write everybody off just because there's some negative chemistry. It means we have to be better on the other C's to be able to work around and accommodate for not just a lack of positive chemistry, but an actual, this is kind of working against us. But it's absolutely possible.
And I would say that now, having done this a few times with a few different people where I've had someone on the team that maybe I wasn't natural with, they taught me a lot, because it's actually found it was more about me than it was about them. Well, why am I struggling though? What is happening here? Because my usual toolbox that I go to, relational toolbox to be able to connect with people, isn't quite working the way it normally does. And so rather than being frustrated, it's like, I wonder what I can learn here. Am I coming across in a certain way? Am I leading in a certain direction that's not making sense for this person? And so I found asking some good relational questions and actually bothering to listen has maybe highlighted some things that were going on in me as to what was causing this negative interaction with somebody. Even so we do have low chemistry, or we don't naturally get on in that way, it's highlighted something that may have been missing if we'd been in a room full of people I had high chemistry with. So in that sense, they were a good counterbalance and revealed something that maybe I would have missed that was in me. It had nothing to do with them. It doesn't always mean it's negative. It may actually mean it's trying to highlight something that's actually going on in the room. Hence why it's important to pay attention to it and say, is this just low chemistry, we're just not getting on? Or is there something here that they're highlighting that I just don't like?
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. And I think as leaders, we have to be honest and say, hey, the chemistry that we give off is not going to react positively with everybody. It's not one's right and one's wrong. We like to think of ourselves, well, I'm a high chemistry person, so if it's not working with that person, it must be them, because who wouldn't want to have a chemical reaction with me?
Yeah. Legal or illegal.
Right? I'm the leader, and I'm a leader for a reason. It's because I'm good with people. And so that's our sort of default belief about ourselves. And so it couldn't possibly be us. And it's like, I think it's okay. You're not doing anything wrong, but you just have to accept that not everybody is going to dig what you're selling. Doesn't it make sense when you think of all the human beings in the world? That's like, of course there's going to be people that just for whatever reason, and maybe we can start to dig into why it is, but at the end of the day, we might just have to say, you know what, it just, some people, for whatever reason, it just doesn't click, and they're not bad, or they're not worse, or, oh, you can't work with that person because somebody else can work with that person. That's always funny when you see people that you're like, I can't connect with that person, but that person can, and I connect with that person. So, in the little triangle, you're like, how come I can get along so well with that person, but not that person, but they get along with that person? That's the intangible thing that I think we just have to admit. It's real, it's there, we just have to accept it.
That's where the humility comes in. Because the assumption would be, I can't grow any more as a leader. I couldn't be any more brilliant. And it's like, that's wild. That person that you're struggling to connect with in that way may be the thing that makes you better. And so that is the positive side of when you bump into someone that's not digging everything you're shoveling, because not everything that we send out there to our team is brilliant. There is a way of them feeding that back to you. And then it's just how we're going to react to that. Are we then going to push it away, or are we going to embrace it and ask some good questions and say, okay, what's happening here? How could I communicate better? Because it's going to probably impact another C that then we could strengthen, which would be a great thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're coming down the home stretch here, Chris, once again. So this is a tough one. How do we work with chemistry? If we accept that it's there, but we're saying, well, there's really nothing you can do to manipulate it, increase it, or decrease it. How do we work with it so that it's a useful C to consider in a relationship?
It's like most things is you're trying to grow your self-awareness. And so maybe even just sort of looking at your team and giving them all a rank of 1 to 10, on a piece of paper and saying, 9, 7, 6, knowing that these numbers don't mean anything other than, oh, I have a really high number with this person, a low number with this person. How's that playing out? Is that affecting how I'm making decisions, how I'm talking things through with people? Am I spending more time with some people than others? Like, is this pushing me in a certain way in my decision making that I like or don't like? So it's almost like taking the emotion a bit out of it and just sort of saying, hey, is this thing driving or leading me more or less than it should be? And what does that say about how I'm leading this team? So again, it's just a gradient of yourself. You're not judging them, you're judging yourself in am I leading just out of chemistry? And if I am, what's the impact of that on the team?
Yeah, well, I think that's why we're saying this is so closely connected to the other C's, is because we can't do much with this on its own. And so if you're going to work with it, you're kind of working around it. It's either there or it's not there. So how do you get on with it? It's really what you're doing in the other areas. The only thing we said is that maybe there is some undiscovered chemistry there, and you could give opportunity for that. But that's not creating the chemistry. It's just saying maybe I haven't given every opportunity to discover with more people that it could be there.
Yeah, exactly. And without making it weird. So you may be like, hey, on my team, I've a 7 and an 8, and then I had a 2. Well, could I just have lunch with that 2, once a week, every week for 3 or 4 weeks, to give it more opportunity, just to see if there's something else there? Hey, and be curious about why this is lower or what this person's going through, or just trying to sort of be curious about it rather than negative about it. Just lean towards that a little bit and say, hey, if I gave this a little bit of context outside of our formal meeting, may I discover something else about them, or who they are, the kind of person they are, what makes them tick. See if there's something else there that will bump that along. And then if not, what other C does this person really react to well? And it's like, okay, I've got to put more of that in it. I may just have to give this person a little bit more time, whatever that may be. But it means I can still have a really healthy, awesome working relationship with this person if I just rely on some of these other tools and the chemistry, put that around it, and it'll move it forward in a healthy way.
Yeah, you may actually confirm for yourself, yep, this is what I thought it was. This person just, it is what it is. And this was a long lunch. And yeah, the needle's not going to move chemistry-wise. That's okay. At least you've discovered it. You're not further behind. In fact, you're ahead for having had that lunch and spent that time, because you are working on the other C's at the same time as you're open to discovering whether there's some more chemistry or there or not. But you can't fake it. You can't manipulate it. You just have to be open to whether it's there or not.
And you may find they have natural chemistry with someone else on your team. And so that's great. And that works for you. So within the team, there may be connections going on that are working really well. Just because it's necessarily not great chemistry with you, as long as there's chemistry with others on the team, that is a strength. And that's something that could be praised and sort of also valued amongst your team. It's amazing. It doesn't always have to be you.
Well, now that we've thoroughly frustrated everybody
in every way,
talking about a really important thing that they can do nothing about.
Well, I hope that's, again, like you were saying, that can be freeing. It's like, okay, good. There's lots of other these things we can work on. This one is just it's an awareness, becoming more self-aware so you can lead effectively.
Well, there you go. Chemistry, it's a thing.
You're welcome. Can't wait to hear more about it.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, exactly. Enjoy.
We'll see you next time.
See you then.
Hey, thanks guys. Join us again soon for another conversation. But in the meantime, it's your turn. Get out there and walk alongside the people that you're leading. Visit us at leadrelationally.com and follow us on Facebook and Instagram for more support.